Welcome back. I'm Lee Blue, the founder of DoubleStack, and we're going through our agency blueprint series right now, where every week I drop a new video with a behind-the-scenes look at how to build out your own web agency. And last week, we were talking about how instead of selling like isolated services of like ads or SEO, you can actually link those services together into these things called outcome journeys, which will get way better results for your clients. You can charge a ton too. So I figured, well, what if we built one out together right here? And so I want to invite you into a project that I'm working on so you can actually see how I define the client persona. What am I going to say in the ads? What do I say on the landing page? What will I say when I send out emails to nurture the client's leads? Like everything from start to finish, so you can see how to build one out, because these things are awesome. They get great results for clients. You can charge a ton. This is one of the main reasons that I offer a $5,000 new revenue guarantee as part of DoubleStack. And it's also a reason why mentorships like DoubleStack are better than courses or coaches, because I want to like build one of these things with you. And so if you like what you're seeing here, you can always connect with me over on my website at doublestack.net, and we can work on one of these things together. Because if you just built out one outcome journey like this for one client, you'd make way more than $5,000. So I've got a ton of slides documenting this whole process. So let's check it out. All right, let's build a campaign that converts. We're going to go through the 5-step framework, and then we're also going to look at all the tools that I'm using to actually implement all of this stuff. And we're going to cover it all here right now. So before we begin, the first thing we need to figure out is what in the world are we going to promote? And we want to promote something that has one specific outcome, not a business. We're not promoting an entire business. We're not promoting a service. We're not promoting a product. It's not a collection of outcomes. Like, I don't want to use the word "and" in our headlines and stuff like that. It's just going to be one thing. It's not a vague sense of success either. And I got to share some examples for this. So I took some screenshots of ads that are running right now on Google. And when you click the ad, you get to these landing pages. And this one is, and I want to show you a few that will not convert, and then I'm going to show you a couple that will convert so you can see the difference. I don't think this is going to convert very well because it's so broad, it's so vague. It says transform your life. First of all, in what direction, right? So like, what does it mean to transform? And my entire life, my physical health, my spiritual health, my mental health, my financial health, like what part of my life? You know, there's a lot of stuff that can be going on. So then you read below and it's like, feel empowered to achieve balance. What does that mean? Does that mean physical balance? What do you mean balance? Like work-life balance? You know, health and happiness. It's just, everything is just so broad and vague that I don't think anyone's going to book a free consultation to figure that out unless they've already heard of this person beforehand. But coming from cold traffic, landing on a page like this, I don't think anybody's going to click that consultation button. Here's another example. It's actually the same business. They have two different things going on. This one says, take a breath, you're in the right place. Book a free consultation. I mean, come on. That doesn't tell me anything at all. So nobody's going to book that consultation. They might book it later on down the page or whatever, but this is just not good. Here's another example as a life coach. Start living your ideal life. I see this stuff all the time. What is my ideal life? My ideal life as an executive, as a mom or a dad or parent, as a student. Like, what do you mean my ideal? Like, give me a free life assessment? My whole life you're going to assess right now? I just think it's way too broad, way too generic. It doesn't give me a sense of what the outcome is. And consequently, I think this is going to have a really low conversion rate. Let's look at a couple for web designers. I clicked on some web design ads so you can see why I don't think running ads for web design works at all anymore. But here's an example of one that I don't think is going to convert. It says, web design and development pros create a lasting impression with a high impact website. And then it says, elevate your online presence, blah, blah, blah. My online, nobody knows. Only people like you and me are ever going to say things like online presence. Actual business owners don't say anything like that. And then there's all of this kind of generic stuff. Our process is built on over 20 years of experience. So they're trying to leverage the fact that they've got a lot of experience with all of this, but you're not telling me who it's for. You're not telling me what I'm going to get. And then if you look at the call to action, which is request a quote, I have to be basically ready to hire you, to buy something in order to fill out that form or call that number. And it's just not going to happen because the offer is just too broad and too vague. Here's another one that's way too broad and vague. It says, partner with a web design agency that goes above and beyond. And this is just like the thing about assessing my life. It's like, what do you mean above and beyond what? Who is this for? You're talking about e-commerce? You're talking about local businesses? Is it a physical business, a service area business, hospitality, restaurants? What are you even talking about? Above and beyond what? And so there's no way that this is not going to convert. And there's not even a really strong call to action other than a contact form as well. And so I think this is an example of something that's just too broad, too vague, and just not really going to happen. So let's take a look at a couple that would convert. So everybody knows Russell Brunson, right? So he obviously writes really good headlines. So just take a look at what we were looking at a second ago and compare it to this. He says, I spend over $1 million per month testing my marketing theories. You get the results for free. Right? I mean, that's a very compelling reason to join Russell Brunson's newsletter, right? And then he even tells you what kind of content to expect, transform your business in just 2 minutes a day. Each morning you'll receive an email, so he even talks about the frequency. So awesome, right? And then he's using some social proof, join over 3.4 million weekly readers. That's going to convert. Like he's obviously 3.4 million readers. I mean, that's a big one. So this works. Here's my friend Jonathan Stark. So he was actually on a YouTube video with me on this channel a little while ago. And his landing page is going to convert. It tells you exactly what is happening. It's Jonathan Stark. He helps freelancers, consultants, and other independent professionals make more and work less without hiring. So if you want to have a business of one and you want to make more by working less, get some daily pricing tips. He's got 10,000 daily readers. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so that'll convert. And then here's my homepage. I do the same thing that I'm talking about, where I have a very clear outcome. I'm Lee Blue, and I help web designers land awesome clients. And DoubleStack is a mentorship. I personally help people. I hope that this clearly conveys what that's all about. So anyway, so I think those are the things that would convert, and I'm trying to zero in on the fact that these are very specific offers, and that's what we want. So when we get to our 5-step campaign framework, the first thing we want to do is define the persona that is interested in that specific offer that we were just talking about. Once we have the persona, then we're going to take one traffic engine and use that to drive traffic to our offer. So we're not going to do ads and SEO and social media and all of those things as traffic engines. We're going to pick one, and then we're going to make a complete outcome journey based off that one traffic engine. Now you can run multiple outcome journeys simultaneously, right? You can do multiple marketing campaigns with different traffic sources for each campaign, but those would be multiple journeys. And so we're just focusing on one for right now. Then after we have the traffic, we're going to drive all of that traffic to a landing page with a lead magnet to acquire leads. So there's a lead acquisition component. Once we have the lead, we nurture the lead with education so that they're qualified, they're inspired. Like we basically pre-qualify the leads so that they know everything they need to know to make the decision as to whether or not they want to work with you or buy your stuff. And then we're going to make sure there's a very clear next steps. To go from a nurtured lead to a paying client, we need a really clear call to action. So those are the 5 steps, and we'll kind of dig into each one individually now. So the persona, like what is the business and what are we doing here? So this is Dave Hall. And I actually have a seller sizer. I've been Dave Hall's client or customer or whatever for 15 or 16 years or something. And I use the seller sizer almost every day. I'm probably going to use it right after making this video. And I think it's probably the best exercise equipment that you can get. And you'll see some of the reasons why I believe that. But it's very affordable. It's like $500 to $700 for a piece of equipment that I've had for 16 years with no additional cost, no maintenance, no electricity. Everything's awesome. And then the problem that we're going to talk about would be managing blood sugar or maybe pre-diabetes or diabetes. And the reason that I'm picking that is because there are so many people that Dave Hall works with that have diabetes or pre-diabetes that he created an entire separate website dedicated to information about diabetes. So I know that is one channel that he uses to help people that, and they buy a lot of seller sizes from that. So a lot of my clients have been in health and wellness, and a lot of doctors and people like Dave Hall. I mean, Dave Hall, like one of the things, when I'm talking to him, he'll say, hey, Lee, I don't have a target audience. I think everyone should have a seller sizer in their house. And I totally agree. I also believe that everyone should have a seller sizer in their house. You can, children can use it, adults, of any age, even elderly people, that you can get one with a balance bar so you can still bounce a little bit even when you're old and might not have the best balance or whatever. Special needs kids, there's tons of evidence of how this helps with autism and attention deficit disorder or hyperactivity. I mean, there's so many benefits that you can get. And so Dave says, I don't want to zero in on and specify a niche or a target audience for my product. And so I think what probably would really open up the door for the conversation with somebody in his situation, because a lot of other doctors are also in that same situation where they're like, I can do a lot of things to help a lot of people. I'm not asking anyone to pigeonhole their business and only sell seller sizers to people who want to manage their blood sugar. All I'm doing is suggesting that we have a targeted marketing campaign. And we can run 100 marketing campaigns at once if we want to, but we need to have a target for each campaign. I hope that makes some sense. So how do we define the persona? Well, there's a few things that we want to look at. Obviously, we want to know age and gender so we can kind of figure out what should the color palette look like, where are we going to find the people and so forth. But we also have some other interesting information we want to collect as well, like a motivating reason why the person would like to buy a seller sizer. And what specific problem or goal, which would be why this, like why now, why this, previous failures, things that people have tried in the past but didn't get success. I'm interested in limiting beliefs, like why this product or service might not work for them. Alternatives, like other competing options that they might be considering, questions, and there's a couple of different types of questions. The big one that I'm going to be focusing on is a knowledge gap, but there's also things that would be blockers, like I must understand this before I buy, like how am I going to pay for it, for example, would be like a blocking question, whereas a knowledge gap question would be like, I don't know, something about how do I make a workout routine or something like that. So anyway, so these are some of the things that I use to define the persona, and we're going to dive in and get some specific information for all of this stuff because we're going to use this for the ads, for the landing page, for the email sequence. The persona really is sort of like the North Star for all of this stuff. So let's take a look at the persona. So I'm kind of written it out like this, where the demographics are going to be like a 45, I like to name the persona, so I put a name named Mike on there. But, somewhere 40 to 45 years old is probably where you start worrying about pre-diabetes or something like that. So I'm just kind of making our persona fit that criteria. The motivating reason is going to be that Mike was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and he's got some goals. One is to prevent getting actual diabetes, and he wants to reverse his health trajectory. He wants to avoid prescription medications. He wants to take a proactive approach to his health, maybe weight loss, but weight loss would be a secondary thing. The main thing is he went. Let's say maybe he went and got an annual physical, and his blood results came back in such a way that he's a little bit concerned about controlling his blood sugar. And maybe he's tried some stuff in the past. Maybe he's had some previous failures. Maybe he tried to change his diet, dropped soda, reduced desserts and whatever. Maybe he's tried traditional exercise like treadmills, jogging, etc. And maybe that just didn't do it for him. Maybe it was too boring. Maybe he didn't get the results he wanted. For whatever reason, he's still got this problem. And maybe he also has some limiting beliefs. And there's two different kinds of limiting beliefs. There's internal limitations, which would be stuff that Mike thinks inside of his head. Like, I don't have enough time to do all of this. It's too expensive. It's too hard. I'm not going to be able to stick with it. Things like that would be what I would call internal limitations. But then there's external limitations too, which would be stuff that Mike has been told by other people. Like, only medication can solve this problem, that type of a thing. And I like to look at it from both angles. Like, what do I believe would cause me to have a problem? And what are other people saying, external for me that might be an issue that I need to overcome as well? And these are all the things that I have for defining the persona. Then we also have alternatives. For example, home gyms. Maybe instead of buying a seller sizer, I'd get a treadmill or a rowing machine or elliptical trainer or a universal gym. Or maybe I'd try walking or jogging outside or joining a gym or whatever. And hiring a personal trainer, other brands of rebounders might be on my radar. There's a lot of different things. And then we have the questions. And the questions are going to be things like, why does seller sizing lower blood sugar? Like, how does that even work? And how does seller sizing compare to jogging? So Dave Hall invented this phrase called seller sizing. Dave is the nicest guy in the world. Like, if you call him, he owns the business, but he'll also talk directly to you over the phone. And he's come up with a vocabulary on his own. So he invented this thing called the seller sizer. And the reason it's called the seller sizer is because it exercises all of the cells in your body simultaneously with over 100 jumps per minute. Like you get a ton of exercise. And because it's at the cellular level, not just the muscular level, he says it's seller sizing instead of exercising. So anyway, I just want to let you know. So that's what that's called. So you might want to know how seller sizing compares to jogging, which is probably one of the number one alternatives that people might be considering. And how much time do I need to invest in order to see results? And are there studies backing all of this up? Or is it just, is it just craziness or whatever, because it's such an unusual thing? And who else is doing this? And what kind of rebounder should I buy? Because you can get ones with springs, you can get one with bungees, and what's the difference between the two? So there's going to be a lot of questions that we need to resolve before somebody's actually ready to buy a seller sizer. And then there's blocker questions. How we were just talking about the two different kinds. There's knowledge gap, then there's blockers. Blockers are going to be things like, do I have enough space in my house? If I don't have enough space in my house, I can't use it. How can I pay for this? If I don't have the money, I can't buy it. So these are like hardcore, like kind of like deal breaker questions, which would be different from the just the knowledge gap questions that we were just looking at before. How will I know what to do? That's almost a deal breaker question, because if I can't figure out how to use it, then what am I supposed to do about that? So let's talk about the traffic engine. We want to pick one traffic engine, not multiples. We can use multiple traffic engines for the business at large, but for an outcome journey, we just pick one. And my favorite one to go with is search intent ads, like on Google. You can do interruptive ads, like on Facebook. You can do search intent organic content, like through SEO and coming up with organic search results. And I'm going to say that we're going to do ads. So let's create some ad copy that we could run on either Google or Facebook. And in order to do that, we're going to be focusing on the persona, not the product or the service. And an example of that would be in terms of ad copy, like what would I actually write in an ad, especially if it's just on Google, where we don't have a lot of space for copy. I might write something like this, like a 10-minute home workout for busy guys over 40, no gym needed. Or I might write, no time for the gym, 10-minute workouts for guys over 40. Now, let me pause for a second, take a quick note. I can't say anything about diabetes or blood sugar in the ads because that would probably cause Google, and it almost certainly would cause Facebook to reject the ad because you're not allowed to make medical claims. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to bring people in with something that's not a medical claim or an assertion. And then as we do the lead nurturing will be more in line with the very specific things like for example, prediabetes and blood sugar and stuff. But in order to not get rejected from the ad platforms, we need to not make medical claims in the copy itself. So a couple other examples of ads or headlines that I might use. How guys over 40 get fit from home in 10 minutes a day. And here's where things get a little bit interesting. NASA has actually done some studies on rebounding. And so I might use that information to create curiosity. What NASA knows about exercise that gyms don't tell you. That appeals to me. Like these curiosity hook types of headlines really appeal to me personally. And so I like that. I have a couple others. 10-minute fitness for guys over 40 inspired by NASA? That's interesting. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'd click on that. How busy guys over 40 get fit without running? Because if I was thinking about a treadmill or how I hate running, that would appeal to me. The exercise hack getting guys over 40 better results than running. Okay, that appeals to me. Better results than running. I want to get fit. Okay. What's better than running for guys over 40? NASA inspired. Oh, wow. You see how that those ads really resonate with me. And I don't think we would have any trouble on any of the ad platforms for any of that stuff. So let's take a look at the landing page. So we want a headline, and we want the headline to match the ad title. So I might make multiple landing pages if I'm running multiple ads, or I'm going to pick my favorite ad and just make one landing page to align with that. And a lot of times I will use the ad headline as the landing page headline, because if there's a huge disconnect between the ad and the landing page, people are going to be like, "Ooh, I'm really interested in that ad." They click it and they're like, "Wait, where do I find the rest of that information? How do I get more on the stuff that I clicked?" And the landing page might be too bland or vague, kind of like we were just looking at the beginning at the landing pages that I didn't think would convert. So once we have the headline, then we're going to have something that qualifies the audience, and then we're going to share the secret sauce. What is it that we've got that's so cool, and then we're going to clarify the relevance of why the secret sauce actually helps and why it works, that sort of a thing, kind of underscore the importance. And then there's going to be the call to action. So what I did was I actually created the copy for a landing page. Obviously, it's not designed. This is not the final version or anything. There'd be images and stuff to make it look better. But here's the top half. It says, NASA-inspired fitness revolution. NASA discovered how to get a better workout faster and without feeling as tired, while everyone else logs mindless hours on treadmills. Get your customized plan. So that's kind of above the fold. I would probably click that button right off the bat if I was Mike, the persona, looking for fitness that I could do at home. But then I'd have the qualifying section that we just talked about to make sure that I'm kind of in the right place. Like I'm speaking to people that this is for. And so I'd say this is the fastest path to results. NASA discovered that rebounding builds strength and endurance 68% faster than running does. Your entire body works against gravity with each bounce, activating more muscles than running over 100 times per minute. This is why NASA chose this method to rebuild astronaut strength after zero gravity space missions. And so the reason that I feel like this is qualifying, it's not telling me that Mike has prediabetes or any of that other stuff. It's resonating with the type of person who would be interested in something new, something better, something more efficient. They're not the kind of person that just sticks with the same old mainstream stuff. They're kind of like the mold breaking people that are open to new experiences, that are backed by NASA, and that, it sort of resonates with my personality, because I like that kind of stuff. Like I like to try out new things, and especially things that might be more effective than the old school way of doing things. So anyway, so that's why this is audience qualifying in a way that resonates with the attitude or the emotions of that type of a person. And then the bottom half of the landing page is going to look like this, where I'm kind of revealing the secret sauce, which is burn more calories per minute for a 185-pound man exercising for 30 minutes. On a treadmill, you burn about 294 calories running at 5 miles an hour. On a Cellerciser, you burn about 336 calories with moderate intensity. And then I also put in, while also improving core strength, your balance, and reducing joint strain. So that's kind of the secret sauce. But then I clarify that, like, what does this mean for you? It means you burn more calories per minute compared to jogging. Your body builds endurance faster without extra effort. You strengthen your more muscles at the same time instead of just your legs, because the force of gravity is on your entire body as you bounce up and down on the Cellerciser. And you reduce joint strain, which means less risk of injury. And that was actually a big one for me. I used to do a lot of running, and I ended up getting plantar fasciitis, especially on my right foot and everything, and interfered with my running. I moved over to the Cellerciser and never looked back. So it's definitely true. And then so then we got the lead magnet. So at the bottom, I'm thinking, well, what would be a really good lead magnet that would cause somebody to want to enter their email address for this type of an offer? And so I thought about a quiz. I feel like a quiz would be really effective. And I use a quiz. I have a lead magnet quiz on my website. In fact, you can even go to it now. I'll put a link up or something. So if you go to doublestack.net/niche-quiz, then you can take my niche quiz and kind of figure out what the ideal niche is for you. I built that with Gravity Forms. I'd probably do the same thing with this, where I say answer 7 quick questions and get a personalized routine with clear steps, time requirements, and realistic results. Click here to build my plan. And so if I'm Mike and I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm thinking, man, I'm going to burn more calories, all of these great benefits, this really looks like something that's interesting to me, I might be thinking, well, what do I do? Like, what does it look like to exercise on a Cellerciser, and how long does it take? And I'm kind of thinking about, I'm trying to picture what it would be like in my life, and building out my plan and seeing how that works would be awesome. So anyway, so that's what I would put out there for the landing page. And then once I have the email address, then what I'm going to do is send out the customized plan. So I've got the email address, I'll send out the customized plan, and then after I have that, I'm going to start writing emails addressing all the concerns, limiting beliefs, alternatives, questions, and blockers, like all that other stuff that we talked about in the persona. And here's an example of some of the emails that I probably would send in this email nurturing campaign. Why a 10-minute Cellerciser workout improves blood sugar? See where we're getting into the persona that we were talking about before? When you start sending emails, you can say stuff like why Cellercising improves your blood sugar, helps you maintain a healthy blood sugar balance or whatever. Whereas in an ad, especially on Facebook or something, they're going to be like, you're not supposed to say that. But in email, you have a lot more liberty to say the stuff that really matters with regard to the persona. And another email that I would send would be why Cellercising balances blood sugar faster than jogging. So that's sort of digging more into the details of the first email. Real world examples of men reversing type 2 diabetes. So now I'm getting into social proof, who else is using this, real examples, like case studies and testimonials and stuff like that. And then another one would be why the Cellerciser is more effective than bungee-based rebounders, because the Cellerciser has springs, and then a lot of, like, if you just Google around, you'll probably find rebounders that have bungees. And the real difference is that in order to get the results that you get from a Cellerciser, especially for men, the spring gives you more tension to work with than like the elastic bungees or whatever. And so I would explain all of that in an email so people can see. Because keep in mind, we're focusing specifically on men over 40 in this campaign. And so they would need the extra resistance that comes from a Cellerciser as opposed to a more squishy, softer bungee-based rebounder. So then I'm going to send out another one that says how to use and maintain a Cellerciser, far easier than a treadmill. So this is addressing the blocker of like, what if I don't know how to deal with it, or what do I have to do? Because like with the treadmill, you have to oil the treads and all that stuff from time to time so it doesn't dry out, with the silicone spray and whatever. And you have electricity, and treadmills are huge and heavy. A Cellerciser weighs like, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds, and it folds up and you can stick it under your bed if you want to. So I'm going to talk about all of those differences in this email. Keep in mind that treadmills are alternatives, which is where I got the idea from. Why dietary changes might not be enough to improve your type 2 diabetes. So this is going to be more about the like your metabolic state and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more nutrition, diet, and whatever, and how seller sizing helps improve all of that stuff. Then I'm going to get into some of that curiosity hook stuff, why NASA endorses rebounding over walking or jogging. I might send 5, I might send up to 14, which would be like 2 weeks worth of emails. But as you get through the end of all this, you can get the sense that somebody really knows a lot about the seller sizer. And so they're educated, they're qualified, they're inspired by all of this stuff. And so that makes a really good lead nurturing sequence. And then the final step is going to be the call to action. How do I get people to go from being a lead to a customer? And really, there's just a couple things that might happen. One would be I would probably stick links in the bottom of the emails to say, hey, if this all sounds good, why don't you click here and buy a seller sizer? If you didn't quite feel ready to buy one, I would have a button to say, call with questions. And then on the website, I might have like a live chat that could potentially even be manned by AI, but probably it would be like a real person, because the questions are probably going to be, at least for Dave Hall and the seller sizer, are probably going to be really specific. Or just call a phone number. Like, they've got great support. So that would probably be the call to action. Let's take a look at the tools and services that I use for all of this stuff. I use WordPress for everything. Beaver Builder is kind of my go-to page builder, just because it's so stable, it's so fast, it's not filled with tons of extra things that get in my way all the time. And then I will use A/B split test, which is a plugin that allows you to do A/B testing for like headlines and stuff to figure out. You can put 2 headlines in at the same time, figure out which one outperforms the other one with the same traffic at the same time. So it's a really great way to figure out which headlines perform the best. If I was not using Beaver Builder, I'd use Cadence, and Cadence Insights that's another way to do A/B testing in WordPress with Cadence. For web hosting, I use SiteGround. That's the link. You can actually see the exact package I'm using at that link right there, lead.blue/SiteGround. I'm using the third one all the way on the right. If you look at that, I think it's called GoGeek. That's where I put all of our stuff, including the DoubleStack website, but also all of our local business clients and everything. For email, I use Kit right now. I sometimes will use MailerLite. Both of them are great platforms. I find that Kit is a little bit better for myself, for the DoubleStack content that I send out. For local business clients, I might use MailerLite. It's a little bit less expensive, but anyway, I've got clients on both. I use both. I think they're great. If I had to choose only one, I would go with Kit, but both are awesome. For lead magnets, I use Gravity Forms. So if you go over to take the niche quiz at doublestack.net/niche-quiz, you'll see an example of a lead magnet quiz built with Gravity Forms. If I wasn't using Gravity Forms, I'd use Lead Quizzes, and there's a link for that at leadquizzes.com. For web stats, of course, I have Google Analytics installed because that helps kind of with your ad performance and stuff sometimes, because you can link your Google Analytics to your Google Ads account. But I also love Clicky. Clicky, like if you go to the clicky.com website, you'll be like, ooh, this looks outdated and old. But man, I got to tell you, the dashboard that you get in the beginning, where it just kind of shows you an overview of the traffic and the goals that you set up and conversions and campaigns that you're running. It's just such an easy, fast way to get the information that you need that I almost never log into Google Analytics for anything and just do everything through Clicky. So super cool platform. Call calendars, I use Calendly for that. You don't have to use Calendly. There's other available options, but if I want to schedule a call with somebody or connect one or even multiple Google calendars with a single calendar online so that people can book appointments with folks, then Calendly is my go-to for that. WordPress e-commerce, I would use SureCart. I'm not a WooCommerce fan. I think SureCart's really great. That would be my go-to e-commerce platform. So if I was going to set up a website for Dave Hall and sell stuff, then I would implement it with SureCart. So that's an outcome journey. But what do you charge for all of that? And what do you do on a monthly basis to maintain it? That's what this next video is going to be all about. Every week I drop a new video, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that when it's ready. In the meantime, if you want to see an example of a $12,000 project blueprint, check out this DoubleStack workshop, and I'll also show you how I switched my agency from being project-based to having monthly partnership clients and how that tripled my revenue. Either way, I'll see you in just a minute.